Hey everyone, my name is Tyler. This is my co-host Karen, and we are here and back with Narcissist. I'm Asking for a Friend podcast. And oh my gosh, Karen, today we have something so special. And it's in regards to children and narcissism. And is it possible that as parents that we can be raising a narcissist unbeknownst to us, right? So I wanted you to speak on that to give us some clarity on how this happens. How can you unknowingly end up raising a narcissist?
Good, very good subject because, well, it's obviously happening, right?
Yes, yes.
More and more people asking for help when they're involved in a narcissistic relationship.
Yes.
But that 20-something-year-old guy or girl that's showing narcissistic tendencies
Yes.
didn't just get there in their 20s. They developed. And so just to remind the audience too of how, the main ways that I've heard from my own clients, how their spouses or significant others or children or parents, develop this.
Mhm.
I'm not saying they're the only ways, but the three main ways. One, this seems to be the majority of it, is that the kid grows up having to fend for themselves.
Ooh, fending for themselves. Okay, speak a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So, I was a latchkey kid. My dad and I both worked jobs and, they worked hard. They were great examples of good work ethic.
Yes, yes.
So, we didn't end up with any narcissists in our family, but we also had four other siblings. Each of my siblings, we each had each other, right? So
Yes.
in that case, it's helpful. Also, if there's like one that may be the oldest that's kind of in charge of everybody else,
Right.
that could be good because that responsibility of watching everyone else. But then the other problem is, how are those other kids experiencing life? Do they feel
Mhm.
like mom and dad being out, or maybe mom is single or dad is single, and,
Right.
and then they're out all day long, or maybe they're working two or three jobs. So
That's
now this kid, may not be the oldest kid, it could be the youngest kid, or it could be an only child. They're feeling like, nobody really pays attention to me. I get
mhm.
cut, nobody's there to put the Band-Aid on.
Right.
I got to fend for myself. I've got to make sure I make my own meals. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not, of course, the parent in those cases, they're working, hard to try to keep things going and, get things for the kids that they need. And, they're trying to meet needs. So it's not because it's a neglectful parent, although it can be.
Right.
But in this case that we're talking about, it's just parents doing life and trying to, make ends meet. And so the kid now is feeling that it's their perspective now. It's not that it's actually happening. They're not on their own. Someone loves them. But
Yes.
in this case, they're having to do everything for themselves. And so fending for themselves. And when they do that, they've got to learn how to make themselves number one, right? Because no one else is doing it.
Right.
So if I'm number one,
Mm.
I gotta make sure I, take care of me, right? And so they grow up in this world where they feel like it's gotta be all about me, because if I don't make it all about me, no one else is gonna. But then they wind up finding somebody that attaches to them, and it's usually a very empathic person.
Hmm.
Empathic person now, you know, the narcissist is drawn to them because wow, there's somebody that actually cares about me.
Right.
And they start caring so much that they fall in love and with this person, and they get married to them, or maybe they don't, maybe they're living together, but anyway, they're doing life with this person,
Right.
and they feel like a couple, and they're doing, they feel like, but now this person is controlling them, because it's like, wait a minute, life has to be all about me, and don't you forget it. So
Yeah.
it's developed that way because they've learned to live that way. And for them, growing up, it is a means of survival.
Mm.
Become their way. They're set in this way that they don't know. They don't even know it's wrong because they've just been
Mm.
for so long. There's no self-awareness.
Wow. So I guess when you said there you end up dating a person and the person that's the empathic person, right? They get in a relationship with them. Is this why you would say it's important when if you plan on maybe pursuing marriage or getting, deeper involved into a more serious relationship that there's like a multitude of counsel because we always address this from a Christian perspective in making sure that you're maybe seeking counsel from people in regards to being able, like from the outside looking in, because you can be so in love and head over heels that you overlook. You have these blinders on. Love is blind, right? So then
Yes.
you don't see these things. So is that like a way to kind of have that extra guard of protection? Because I almost feel now for this person that's dating that person that, yeah, that person may not be able to help that they had that upbringing like that. But at the same time, the person that's in the relationship doesn't need to suffer either because of what they lacked in their childhood or what they perceived that they lacked in their childhood. Because remember, you like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean that their parents didn't care about them. It was
Right.
just, yeah.
Right. And the empathic person, they also develop that part of their character, right, through
Mm-hmm.
childhood to become empathic people and
Mm.
care and have a gentle and almost like a hero heart.
Savior complex in a way too. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they see this poor person that maybe is even negative about a lot of stuff, and they're like, oh, you don't have to be negative about everything. Life's not that bad. And so they kind of take to this person because it's almost like in their mind, it's almost like they're taking on this project of helping this person see life differently. And
Oh
so
yeah.
this person that's getting this attention is loving it. And it's like, oh, I need this person in my life.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So then, and you just add a little bit, okay, let's say it's a woman and she's highly attractive, a very highly attractive narcissist.
Yes, yes.
And now, she's got this empathic man. And so now she's, clinging to him. And now she's also calling the shots because he wants to keep her, right?
Right.
So, it's like, no, we're going to do this today. We're not going to do that. And so, but she might not be too extreme with that kind of stuff because usually a smart narcissist will wait till after marriage to make sure that there's a commitment.
Yeah, they want to make sure they have the person locked in before
Exactly.
they,
Yeah.
take their mask off.
Right.
And I guess the scary part about that is that the situation doesn't get better, right? It only gets worse in
Right.
the marriage where you continue to stay in that relationship with them. And it can even get so bad as to the point where do you see those relationships surviving, or do you end up seeing them more leaning towards divorce and like your previous experience in counseling in the past?
I'd say it's 50-50. If you've got somebody that's an extreme empathetic person,
Yes.
they're going to put up with a lot for a very long time and
Mm.
go through their whole life. They might just decide to stay with this person. I've had people come to me that have, narcissistic spouses, and they'll say, I feel like I do understand that they've got a mental disorder, narcissism
Yes.
mental disorder,
Yes.
but I also feel like I made a choice to stay with this person by marrying them. I vowed to that, and I take my vows very seriously. And so I will not divorce them. But I also kind of feel there's a part of it that's like I've been chosen to be this person's person. It's like my mission in life
Mm.
because I see that they struggle and they've had a hard childhood or whatever, and I want to just help them. So some people choose to stay in it because they feel almost like it's their mission in life
Right.
to be this person's, sidekick and help them and but they're choosing also a lot of selflessness and a lot of hurt. But
Yeah. A lot
that,
of pain.
that's between them and God. And I'm not judging them because that sometimes is what maybe God would tell us to do. I mean, I think about Abigail in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
If you read about Nabal and how he treated people, he treated everybody like that. So he was like an extreme narcissist.
Right. Mm. You
Everybody
know,
disliked him,
yes, yes.
but Abigail chose to stay with him. I mean, she would have had to run away. In those days, you didn't just divorce as a woman. A man could submit a certificate of divorce. So she, in her situation, she chose to stay with him, and then she also had to save his life and her whole family's life for sure.
Yeah.
So, and as we're talking about it, I'm kind of feeling like I should really open it because
Yeah. No. Go ahead and open it. And while you're opening it, I wanted to also just let our viewers know. Just remember, difference between, I guess, someone feeling like, they were called to this person or they were joined together somehow with this person, but you can also be deceived and lied to. So I would say in a situation that I was in, with the narcissist, that there was a lot of deception in the beginning. There was a lot of lies and half truths and information being left out. So when you get joined to a person like that, you're basically joined under false pretenses. You're not really getting the full information. So it's not to say that you're not going to still honor your vows, but you have to look at it from this point of view. Would you have even married the person had you had known this information, had you had all the details? So,
Right.
so keep that in mind. But yes, I didn't know if you found the story. I was going to let you.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. In 1 Samuel 25, verse 2.
Mhm.
A certain man in Maon who had property there at Carmel was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was shearing in Carmel.
Mhm.
His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surly and mean in his dealings. He was a Calebite. While David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When you shepherds were with us, when your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore be favorable toward my men, since we've come at the festive time. Please give your servants and your son David whatever you can find for them." David's men arrived. They gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered from my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where?"
Mhm.
David's men turned around and went back. So they felt kind of like downtrodden. It's like, oh, gee,
Yeah.
we have a friendly word with this guy, and he's
Mhm.
made us feel like jerks. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
when they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, "Each of you strap on your sword." So they did, and David strapped his on as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. One of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, "David sent messengers from the wilderness to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them."
Mhm.
They explained the whole thing that happens. And then in verse 18, Abigail acted quickly. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep. So now think about this.
Yeah.
She quickly did this, which means that they had 200 loaves of bread already ready, 2 skins of wine. So these were rich people. These were
Right.
people that had what they needed all the time. 5
Mhm.
dressed sheep, 5 sayas of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she told her servants, "Go on ahead, I'll follow you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. Okay, so she's going over his head, but she knew she had to.
Right.
As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there was David and his men descending toward her, and she met them. David had just said, "It's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the wilderness, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David be ever so severely if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to him." So he was planning on wiping them all out.
Right.
When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord, and let me speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. Please pay no attention to my lord, to that wicked man Nabal."
Mhm.
So
Yep.
she's talking about her husband to
Yep.
the man and
Mhm.
letting David know, I don't agree with what my husband did.
Right.
He
That's
is
right.
just like his name. His name means fool, and
Mhm.
folly goes with him. And as for me, your servant, I did not see the men my Lord sent. And
Mm.
now, my Lord, as surely as the Lord your God lives, and as you live, since the Lord has kept you from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, may your enemies and all who are intent on harming harming my Lord be like Nabal, and let this gift which your servant has brought to you, my Lord, be given to the men who follow you. Please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord because you fight the Lord's battles, and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live. So David said to Abigail, praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who has sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hands. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has kept me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, not one male belonging to Nabal would have been left alive by daybreak. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king.
Right.
He was in
Yes.
high spirits and very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until daybreak. Then in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him all these things. So
Yeah.
she confessed to him that she went over his head and went
Yeah.
to David, and his heart failed him, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal and he died. You know that Abigail and David actually ended up getting married because he took her as his wife.
Yeah. It is interesting to hear how all of that unfolded. So there was, in that case, there was even purpose in that situation.
Mhm.
But I don't want to say everyone who's dealing with the narcissist is going to have an Abigail type situation or, kind of calling, but it is
Right.
an example there so that you do see where that ended up. I mean, for Nabal, it didn't end well.
No.
And Abigail was actually blessed in the end. So there is something too, whenever you are in a situation, whether you're being wronged or hurt, always being in right standing with God and taking that position, because God will always look out. He will always cover you.
Yeah.
So that is something we always want to keep that in mind as well.
Mhm.
Now you said there were three. So what is the second thing that you mentioned that?
The second one is just learned behavior, modeling of narcissism happening from a narcissistic parent or some caretaker in the family that or in their life that is a narcissist. And so, they learn some of the tactics that the narcissist has working for them because, people don't push back, then it's like, oh, that worked for them. I think I'll be that way too. So not necessarily something that's developed as much as it's something that the kid chooses because they see that it's things that worked for the parent or the caretaker.
Right. It's like you learn what you live. And in that instance, that's really hard to to really break because unless narcissists don't have self-awareness, so unless at some point they become self-aware or somebody brings it to their attention and they receive that and they receive the fact that they do have these narcissistic tendencies, I'm not, God can do anything, but I'm not sure what their path is because it's hard to break habits that you've learned and you've adopted and seen over years.
Yes, it is hard. And, I mean, if it's, I see more success for people, like people that have come to me, and it's only been a few times where I've had people come to me that would say to me, my significant other or my family member says I'm a narcissist and I'm trying to figure out if that's true. If they say that, then there may be like that learned behavior, but it's not like a developed ingrained thing. So
Right.
if there's self-awareness like that, where they think there's a willingness to even say maybe that's true, then I would say it could be learned behavior and it could just be
Okay.
that they're trying to do better, right?
Yes.
And so if that's the case, then they may be willing to hear that kind of thing and then try to see if there's any validity to it and then work on that. And so if that's the case, then there are some people that will see that in themselves and then just stop some of those behaviors that kind of, just for one, just like a double standard, you do this with everybody. You think that it's okay for you to do this thing, but then when they do it, you have a fit. That's something that is not very narcissistic if you think you can get away with it, but others can't. And
Right.
so if they're like somebody that's willing to look introspectively and say, yeah, you're right. I think I do that. I think I need help with that. You know, there's a chance if they got somebody to be accountable to that they're willing to listen to, then yeah, there's the possibility that somebody could change.
Right.
There has to be that willingness. So
That's oh yeah, that is 100%. And then what is the third one, the last one
The
that you mentioned?
last one is when the person is coddled and given everything that they want. And a lot of times at this with all of these, your personality is kind of setting in by the time you're 6 years old. So you really want to help kids
Mhm.
understand this from like the minute that they understand the word no.
Yes, yes.
You want to help them at a young age to know, it starts
Hmm.
off, you maybe in the playground, the kid brings their shovel and then, the one that's developing a little bit of these narcissistic traits, grabs the shovel from the kid that owns the shovel, and then the kid that owns the shovel lets them play with it and doesn't really fight back. And, they're both there. And then you have another day where the narcissistic kid brings the shovel and another kid picks it up, even when
Mhm.
the narcissistic kid is not playing with it, and picks it up and starts to play with it, and they go over and they grab it away. That's not.
Right.
So, it starts off with that. You've got to correct the kid. If you see that your kid's okay with taking somebody else's stuff and making sure that they share with them, but then they're not doing it, they've got this double standards only if it's your stuff, not mine, then
Right.
you want to stop them because it starts there. They learn to be that way with everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
if this is something that they do all the time, there are some parents that are passive, too passive,
Yeah.
and they're peacemakers. When
Hmm.
the kid has a fit in the house because they don't want something or they do want something, parents are going to be doing themselves a great disservice if they're not willing to sometimes have the fight.
Yes.
The fight, you don't want the kid to see that they have control over your emotions. And you
Mm.
take a deep breath and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to teach my kid. They're trying to get me mad by how they're behaving, but I'm not going to let them see me mad. I'm going to
Right.
correct them and I'm going to do it with the leverage that I have. And so you have leverage as a parent. You can, let's just say that the kid doesn't want to clean their room. I don't want to clean my
Right.
room. I don't want to do it. And then you say, no, you don't, we're not going to the park until you clean your room. Now the
That's
kid
right.
throws themselves on the floor,
Hmm.
having a tantrum. And maybe they'll even throw out some excuses like, I don't know how to clean my room. Maybe that's what they'll say, whatever. Okay, a very passive parent when it comes to wanting to be peacemakers and have quiet, not hear crying and screaming, they'll say, okay, let's just go in the room and we'll do it together. And that's okay when they're really little because you do have to teach them.
Of course.
But
Yes.
now when they're 5 years old, if they're still doing that, it's not your job, it's their job. And
Exactly.
so your leverage is, I would say, incorporate an allowance.
Hmm.
By the time they're five, an allowance doesn't have to be a lot. It could be 50 cents. It could be something that they know that's theirs if they do their job.
Oh yeah.
If it's an only child, then
Mm.
you do this as well, but I'm going to tell them what else they should do. So you have allowance, and if you have more than one kid, everybody gets allowance for cleaning their own room or their own space, maybe in the same room, whatever it is.
Yes.
But if one child does not want to clean the room and just won't, but the
Hmm.
other child does their side, the parent can say to that child that did their side, here's your allowance. If you
Right.
clean your sibling's side of the room, go ahead and do it, and you will get their allowance.
That's right.
So you want to teach them that it's a privilege to have a room, it's a privilege to have a bed in this house, and everybody takes part in taking care of this house because it belongs to all of us. So
Of course.
they need to understand that there is a set of rules. So that's just like an example, but
Hmm.
you know, in some families, one kid will do all the housework
Right.
and others will, and that's usually somebody that grows up to be a peacemaker. And
Yes.
then all the other kids or one of the other kids might help a little bit. And then there may be even a couple that do nothing because they're like, oh, they're gonna do it. So I'm not worried about it. But
Yep. Right.
if you incorporate a reward system, those other ones might be more apt to help as well.
Yes. And that's the key. Taking the time to not just take the easy route, because what seems easy in the beginning is going to be hard in the long road.
Mhm.
So I want the viewers to understand. So you take the easy route when they're little. Imagine what the hard road is going to be when they're 20, 30 years old. and they have not learned these things that they should have learned in childhood, what are you going to have to do? Are you going to have to be bailing them out of jail? Are they going to be losing jobs constantly and you're having to pay all their bills? Like, how extreme does it get when they're older
Right.
and haven't learned these fundamentals?
Right. Just kid that's trying to clean their room is going to be that kid on the couch that's playing video games and then falling asleep there and not getting a job. And then you're going to go and tell them, I want you to go get a job. And they're just going to look up at you and say, I'm sleeping, stop bothering me.
Yes.
It's going to be, it's going to be, and now you've got a grown person. You can't even incorporate any kind of discipline now because it's too. So, yeah. And then how are you going to get them to, and the whole thing is you want them to grow up to be well-rounded people.
Yes.
That are living a good life, not sleeping on a couch or playing video games. Not that those things are wrong. You can take a nap on the couch. You can play video games sometimes, but that should not be like something that takes up
the entire day.
Even 2 or 3 hours of your day. It shouldn't.
Right.
So parents need to limit the usage of their tablets when they're bigger and they can make their own rules about their tablets and things like that. Yeah. But I would even say, one of my kids, they have a really good rule where their kids don't go on the tablet Monday through Friday.
That's awesome.
Saturday and Sunday, the only time they get screen time. And, they'll let them watch a television show at night with the family and do that kind of thing. Right. That's kind of a thing they do together. But as far as having those little screens and everything, they do that. And not only that, but then, too much screen time, it's been shown in studies that it causes ADHD. So all these, there's so many good reasons to limit and teach kids limits for the sake of teaching them. So you want these problem situations to pop up when they're little, and you want to deal with them then.
Yes.
You want them to have the right teaching when it's easier to do it when they're younger. If they behave or they talk back or any of those things, then you take something away. And you say, you're just so disrespectful. You are not having a tablet. A tablet is something you get when you show responsibility and it's a privilege and when you're respectful. And you're not. So you don't get it this week. And I would say take it out of their life for the whole week.
That's right. And it just boils down to really choose your heart. Do you want the heart of having to deal with the crying, the outbursts when they're 5, 6, 7 years old, or with the lazy child of now adults that is in their early 20s that's laying on your couch, they don't want to get a job, they're not going to school, they're not being productive member of society in no way, and then they're telling you what they're going to do and what they're not going to do.
Right.
I'll leave that in your hands, viewers. So,
raising children is not an easy task. But making sure that they understand with any discipline that you give them that they're loved, and that's the reason for the discipline. It's very important for them to know that. People discipline out of anger, and it's harsh, it hurts in a way where it shouldn't. And so you want to be careful with how you do it. You don't want the kid to see you angry. You don't want the kid to see you out of control of yourself.
Yes.
Because that actually causes two things: insecurity in the child, because the child knows that they're not the one that's supposed to be in control. They're not the parent. But now they feel like, oh, I have power. I can make mom really upset, fly off the handle, and cry or whatever it is she might do. Don't ever let them see that. You want to let them see that you're in control and that you're not afraid of them.
That's right.
You're not afraid to deal with what they're dishing out right now. You're not angry. You're just in control. There's a difference between yelling at the top of your lungs and showing firm words.
That's right. And if as a parent you find you're struggling with these things, don't be afraid to seek help. If you need a counselor yourself, because maybe you're having a hard time with the parenting. There's parenting classes. There are so many options. Just don't decide that you're not going to do nothing and just let the child run, wreak havoc in your house.
If you need the names of some good books
Yes, comment if you want some book
Yeah,
suggestions.
yeah.
We can put
And
that
we'll
out.
reply with a good couple of suggestions for you.
But awesome. So Karen, this is so great. So we're so thankful that you tuned in today. Remember to share this with someone. Do not let this end with you. And my name is Tyler. And this is Karen Maldonado. And we are here with Narcissist Asking for Your Friend. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.